Hello guys, Mr. Levi here. We've got 16 new champions in game. Let's check them together. Let's start with the legendaries. First one, Goremain. No. Goremain. Here we got her. Attacks when enemy steals one random buff from the target. Nice. Attacks when enemy places an HP burn debuff. Places a continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns if this attack is a critical. Attacks all enemies has 85% chance of placing a leech debuff and 100% heal reduction debuff. And ally resist leader skill. Okay-ish, nothing special in my opinion. Here are second legendary from the orc faction as well. Let's check his skills. Grohak the blood-eyed, something like that. Attacks 2 enemies at random. Each hit has 35% chance of placing 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. So 2 hits on the first and decreased speed. That's not bad. Attacks all enemies, fills this champion's turn meter by 20% for each enemy under a decreased speed debuff. Okay. Attacks one enemy and steals the target's max turn meter. That's interesting. And speed lead in dungeons, which is not the most useful one, but it's not bad. It's not bad, yeah. So let's check our third one from High Elves, and his name is. He's from Force Affinity, and his name is Vasily Ruinous. He's an elf dude, as it seems. Attacks one enemy has 80% chance of stealing one random buff from the target and 80% chance of placing a block buff if the target has no active buffs. So similar like the first one, steals a buff. Attacks one enemy 3 times, ignores shield and block damage buffs as well as 50% of the target's defense. Holy shit. He's ignoring everything. That's pretty OP, in my opinion. Attacks all enemies, has 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn, decreases each target's turn meter by 50% if the stun debuff is not placed. Fucking hell. He's pretty amazing. The other 2 is like meh, but he's quite good. So let's check our fourth legendary from Barbarians. A Force legendary, Elder Skarg. Nice looking dude. Attacks when enemy, places 30% increased speed buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack is critical, and places 30% increased crit rate buff on this champion if this attack is not critical. Okay. Attacks when enemy 3 times, places an extra hit for each buff or debuff on the target. Wow. Can place up to 3 extra hits. Place an HP burn debuff for 2 turns and a True Fear debuff for 1 turn if this attack places all 3 extra hits. Holy shit, he's nice. He seems nice. Places a 60% increased defense buff on this champion for 3 turns. Places a Fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Places a True Fear debuff. Fucking hell. Debuff for 1 turn on targets under block damage buffs. Places 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns on targets under shield buff. These debuffs cannot be resisted. Now that's the key word. These buffs cannot be resisted. That's pretty OP. Oh, this was the third one. Let's check his passive. Receives 15% less damage from legendary champions. And crit rate in the arena by 30%. Leader skill. He's pretty nice as well. This sphere could be really good in the spider dungeon, obviously in other places as well. That was my first idea about it. So let's go with the epics next. Barbarian again, a force champion called Maeve. No, she's not the one, and she's not the one. She's the one. Yes, that's a big fucking bow. So let's check the skills. Attacks one enemy, has 40% chance of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn. Has 50% chance of granting an extra turn if placing a sleep. Nothing special. Attacks one enemy, places a stun debuff on the target for 2 turns if the target is under sleep. Attacks one enemy, enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived. That's useful, the rest is meh. So the next is a Void champion, Swai Firstborn. Attacks one enemy, places a 50% increase buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. Places a 30% increase crit rate buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. And 45% chance of placing a block buffs for 2 turns. Attacks one enemy, attacks all enemies with a second hit if this attack is critical. This hit deals 60% of damage inflicted from the first hit. This attack will always be on normal hit. Attacks for enemy before attacking, has 50% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. Again, nothing special in my opinion. Let's go for the third one. Undead hordes and a force champion. And the name is Mausoleum Mage. Mausoleum Mage. Which one of them looks like a Mausoleum Mage? Hey, no. Yo. Yeah. Okay. I've seen this kind of character somewhere. Anyways. Attacks when enemy has 30% chance of placing a 30% increased speed debuff for 2 turns. Places a block debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn. Also places 30% increased crit rate buff and 60% increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. That's pretty nice. Removes all debuffs from all allies, then heals all allies by 10% of this champion's max HP. Okay. Heals each ally by a further 10% if 1 or more debuffs are removed from that ally. Fills each ally's turn meter by 50% if 2 or more debuffs are removed. He's pretty nice. Defiled Sinner, another force champion. Nope. Defiled Sinner. Attacks when enemy has 50% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns before attacking. If 5 or more enemies are alive, does the following attack instead. Attacks all enemies, places a 25% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns before attacking. Interesting. Attacks one enemy, then attacks all enemies, inflicting damage equal to 15% of their max HP if the first hit kills an enemy. The second hit cannot be critical. Right, attacks all enemies, damage increases by 10% for each enemy alive, stuck up to 100%. That's pretty nice. That sounds pretty nice, all honestly. So let's check our last epic from the dwarves. He's a Void champion, Gala long braids. No. Gala long braids. Here you go, little girl. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit ignores 30% of the target's defense. Places a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to 20% of the damage inflicted. Nice. Attacks one enemy ignores 50% of the target's defense when attacking under shield buff. Heals this champion by 50% of the damage inflicted. Places a shield buff on this champion equal to any surplus heal for 3 turns. She sounds like a nice champion. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit ignores 25% of the target's defense. Grants an extra turn if this champion has full HP after using the skill. So all 3 skills ignore defense. Pretty nice. And leader skill increases ally attack in all battles. That's the keyword there, all battles by 25%. So these were the legendaries and the epics. I'm not gonna check the rare ones or the uncommon ones. Hope you are having fun with the game. Please subscribe to my channel, also check out my other videos. Have a nice day and see you next time. Bye.